What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Sports. I'm Alex. This is Papa Blood. Papa Blood, what are we doing today?
We are going to try to figure out which teams are going to finish where in each division. I think it ought to be fun.
So, we are going to rank each team 1 to 4 within their own division, and we're not comparing them to any other divisions, just their own. And obviously, it's a very, very early prediction as it's only the second day of July. But this is something that we are going to do now and maybe revisit in the future and do it again. Or compare what we think in 2 months to what we're doing today. And so that's what we're going to get into. Before we get started, everybody listening, from wherever you're listening, whether it be live right here on YouTube or via podcast or wherever, be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find us here on It's in the Blood on YouTube. And yeah. Any other opening thoughts? What's that face for?
Somebody's in my house.
Okay, well, let's take a moment to take a break while Papa Blood investigates, because I am not in his house. So, yes. What's up, everybody? It's good to see you. There's the It's in the Blood Discord. Thank you, Adam. And in the description of this live stream, we have the link to the Discord also. We have the Twitter, Instagram, all of the social medias. We have links to mine and Papa Blood's gaming channel as well. So if you're interested in any of that good jazz, be sure to check it out. Also, just a little fun fact, about 5 minutes before this stream started, my mic stand broke. So we're going authentic mode today and holding the mic. Adam's dropping all the links in the chat. Appreciate you. All right, so crisis averted. Papa Blood's back.
Yeah, my wife is supposed to work until like 11:30, and she got home at 6 for some ungodly reason, and kind of scared me because you had already left.
Yeah, I just left like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, so that's the jazz. I gave you all of the plugs. Make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate you very much. Papa Blood does not have an intruder in his house, so we're going to get into ranking, a very early ranking of each team within their own division. And you know what? I'm going to put you on the spot. What division do you want to start with? But don't say the AFC East.
One of the more intriguing divisions I think this year is going to be the NFC West.
The NFC West. Okay, so how about this to make it flow a little better? We'll do both Wests, and then we'll, go to the next section of the United States and go from there. So we'll start with the NFC West. Do you want me to give you my list or yours?
I'm really curious about your list, so that I've been waiting to hear what you thought all day.
I kind of think we're going to disagree, but my list starting from 4 is going to be Seattle. I will get into it. Okay, so I don't think I covered the grounds. We're going to list our 4 and then we're going to discuss it. But so my number 4 is Seattle. My number 3 is going to be the Cardinals. Number 2, the Rams, and number 1, the Niners.
Wow. I kind of agree with that. I went
let's hear your list.
I went a slightly different way. I do also think that the Seahawks are going to bring up the bottom this year. I have some high hope for these Cardinals if they kind of grow a little bit, but I still think they're going to finish in the 3rd spot. In the 2nd spot, I'm going to knock the Niners down a rung this year.
I knew it.
I think Matty Stafford and the Rams, minus Aaron Donald, are going to win that division.
Dude, I knew it. I talked to someone today. I said, listen, look, I still put your Niners at number one, but Papa Blood's a bit of a homer for Matty Stafford and the Rams. I know he's going to do it to him. Like, I just felt it. I waited all day for you to dethrone the 49ers. Okay, so yeah, we're both on the same page with the bottom two, which and it's no disrespect to Seattle. I think by bumping them down was not a diss at them. It was kind of a moment of praise for Arizona. I think that this division's just going to be a tad bit more competitive this year. Not that they weren't last year, other than Arizona. Seattle still remained competitive, but I think we're going to get a healthier Cardinals team going into the season with an addition to getting Marvin Harrison Jr. I know their defense we don't know yet, but like I think they're a team that is taking steps in the correct direction, and Seattle I think is taking a step back. Like they're losing Pete Carroll on the sideline, and I don't feel that they have a real identity.
Yeah, you just hit a lot of my reasons. Uh, Geno Smith was getting kind of figured out for the most part last year and was slowed down a little bit, albeit that defense is going to be right on time in Seattle. I think they're going to hold some teams down. I just don't think that we're going to see that new identity just yet. I don't think Geno's the future. I think Geno's just going to hold him over. That's kind of why I think they're going to fall back. Kyler Murray played pretty well when he came back in at the end of the year. Jonathan Gannon's system was working out. I think Arizona could surprise one of the top two teams, but as of right now, preseason, I still think they're third.
I think the bottom two could potentially be interchangeable. We have to think, Geno Smith is there, but he did have some injury issues, and also they've got Sam Howell now, I'm pretty sure. And so like I feel like putting him in could bring a little bit of a spark, a little change up to their team. Obviously we don't know what's going to happen. I don't wish injury on anybody, but let's talk about the top two teams. And I already know why you went the way that you went, and I kind of went the way I went, not as a safe bet, but it's more of, for me, that it's kind of like picking someone other than the Chiefs to win their division. Like, although I am a Chiefs fan, but if I were not a Chiefs fan, I wouldn't pick against them until someone finally does it, right? And this feels like a Niners team that, yeah, they might lose Brandon Ayuk, and that will shift things. But as of right now, he's still a 49er, and we have to go on what's happening right now. That team is the most solid team in that division currently, and one of the most solid teams across the entire league. So my thinking is it is really early, and yes, there's room for bold takes right now, but this is one team, although I'm not a fan of Brock Purdy and I don't think his time as a starter is going to last forever, I think it's one of those situations that you don't pick against them until someone proves that they can take it from them. But I do want to hear your thoughts because I kind of am going to agree with you on a lot of what you do say.
I'm all about the coaching out here. I look at what they did with that team last year with no draft picks, with no real superstars. Even with Aaron Donald in the middle on the defense, they still performed at a very, very high level going into the playoffs. They just about took out Detroit on the road in the playoffs. Matt Stafford was healthy. When he's healthy, he can really dish it. He's got two great receivers. I just feel like Sean McVay is a better coach at this point in time. I feel like he's got another set of his guys under his belt. I know that they felt like they had a really good draft out there. And I think going into training camp, they're acting like they're the favorites. San Fran, the biggest worry I have there is, of course, if and when Brock Purdy gets hurt, or if he takes a step back, there's no real safety net waiting in the wings. Trey Lance is gone. Sam Darnold is gone. Those guys could have ran that offense effectively. I'm a little worried about San Fran. They think they've got it all in Purdy. I'm still not sold. It'll take this year for me to write him in as the starter that I think can carry this team.
No, I'm with you. I knew I was going to agree with everything that you said. I have my issues with Brock Purdy as well, and they have really no desirable backup option like a lot of teams went out and got this past year. And so like I said, I'm going to stand on it, and I actually like respect your take a lot. I'm going to stand on it. This is like part of me hopes that you're right, just to shift up the balance in the NFC a little bit. It would make things interesting, and I love chaos, but I really I just can't. It's just they're the one team that's not my team that I got to stick with for the moment. We'll see what happens by the time preseason comes around and how I'm feeling. We'll get to the rest. But let's hop over to the AFC, which is going to be the AFC West, and I'm going to let you go ahead and drop your 4 through 1.
Yeah.
I'm really curious where you put some of these teams, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it.
So this division I've thought long and hard about, but I don't think it really changes much from the way I felt about it last year. Right now, I don't see Denver taking a step up yet. I feel like they hurt themselves by cutting Wilson, and more than just money. I feel like he was actually a decent quarterback and was doing a pretty decent job. Sean McVay just had a hard on for him. So I'm going to put Denver in the 4 slot. I'm going to bring the Raiders up to the 3rd spot just because whoever they start at quarterback, at least they've got an option and back.
Well, just give your list.
Got it. The Raiders are going to be 3rd. I think the Chargers are going to be very competitive this year. I love Harbaugh's system. I love how he implements it. And then I'm going to put the Chiefs back on top until somebody can knock them down.
Now, first of all, you already know. Even if I would have to be dead to not put the Chiefs at 1, and someone else do it for me. But I'm alive and well. But yeah, easy, no thought about it. Although my boy has the potential to be QB1, Denver's at 4. I thought long and hard about 2 and 3. I really did. And my list is going to end up the same as yours. Raiders at 3, Chargers at 2, and the reigning Super Bowl champs out 1. But no, I'm with you. And I was gonna let you go, but we gotta follow the flow a little bit, and so I'll let you go ahead and finish. I'm pretty sure everything you're saying is gonna be everything I'm gonna say, just with me having a little bit more bias.
Yeah, I think the biggest unknown for the season is going to be a disciplined Chargers team under Harbaugh. I think a disciplined Chargers team wins a few more games regardless, and I think they have a really good chance to compete for the top. Not saying that they're there yet, but Harbaugh's leadership, I think he's got the all-time highest winning percentage as a coach in the NFL. So I think he's got a real opportunity there. They put him in a really tough spot to beat Andy Reid and the Chiefs, but I think those two are going to be fairly close at the top. We're not going into records right now, but I think both of those teams are double-digit wins. It's probably the safest bet that I can make right now.
So listen, I'm 100,000% just a Broncos hater through and through, but there is one little bright spot in there, and that is one and only Zach Wilson, and nothing has broke my heart quite as much as the Jets sending him there. His life was already hell in New York, and then they sent him to hell in the mountains. I didn't think that was very fair, but since there's nothing I can do about it, I got to support him. I told you guys, and I will die on my statements. I stand on what I stand. I will support that boy till the end of his career. Yeah, so I hope I get to actually see him this season. No offense to Bo Nix, but I know that Sean Payton is a long-term head coach. It's not his first year in the league, and I think there is a potential that it happens, and if that happens, I will cheer for them, except for when they play against the Chiefs. But they took a lot of L's this year, and that's off the field. in the offseason. They've took nothing but L's. They were dumb for cutting Russ, even though I saw it coming. But talking about the Chargers and the Raiders, I almost put the Raiders at 2. I really did. I thought, like I said, I thought long and hard about this. I love Gardner Minshew. I love this Raiders defense. And I love that the energy that they have. It's so much different there now that they got baby Belichick, baby Dumbface out of there. Like there's life in that building within these players, and I think Devontae Adams and Gardner Minshew can cook if he's still there. If they don't get rid of him, but even if they don't, they've got a lot of good pieces. They've got a really good core, I want to say. But the only thing that held me back between putting them at 2 and putting them at 3 was the fact that, although Minshew is kind of a journeyman at this point and can adapt quickly, I'm going against Justin Herbert, who's been in with this team, with this system, although his is going to look a little different too, but he's been there. He knows a big piece of this pie, where Minshew is getting settled in still. Like, could he earn a starting job for more than a year here? I think absolutely. Will they go with Aiden O'Connell at some point? Maybe. I really don't know what their game plan is, but both of these teams got a lot of good pieces to succeed. There's going to be a lot of question marks because there's a lot of new in the Chargers building. They give Jim Harbaugh, the credit for being established, but it is a first year when in this system, so there will be growing pains in my opinion. I think easily the Chargers can take the Raiders can take number 2 for me. They can move up. But the only 2 certainties on this list is Chiefs at 1 and Broncos might only win 3 games this year. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The one thing that I really like about the Radios. The one thing I like about the Raiders this year is I like the coaching staff. I like the direction that they were taking the team last year, and I love the defense. I think the defense has the opportunity to be very exciting and great. As long as the offense doesn't turn it over, they've got a chance to win some games. So,
honestly, I was very timid. I was very timid about putting them at 2, but I really do feel like they can be the number 2 slot in that division. Just because I think their defense is better than the Chargers as a whole. And offensively, they've got just so much going for them. Now, in 2 months when the season starts, will my opinion change and I'll be solidified one way or the other? Maybe. But right now, just a safe bet, the Chargers have made the playoffs once or twice in the last couple of years. So, it's almost like the Niners, although I don't trust the Chargers quite like I do the Niners. We'll see what happens, but I'm pretty confident, and I'm glad to see that we will be on the same page for at least one of these 8 divisions.
Yeah, probably the only one.
You know what? Since you chose the West, I'm gonna take the North and do that to you. So we'll start with the NFC North, and then we'll end on the AFC North, which, oh man, that's something. But okay, so let me fix this camera, but I'm just gonna keep talking. So my top 4 are my 4. There we go. My 4 for the NFC North. Number 4, the Bears, which we've discussed, and number 3, the Vikings. Number 2, which might come as a surprise to some of you, I have the Lions dropping to 2 and the Packers moving up to 1. And so let's hear your list.
Well, I'm kind of with you. I think the Bears have a talented roster. I think quarterback's going to show some growing pains. 4, I like the Vikings at 3. No pressure at all on those guys. Number 2, I'm going to flip-flop with you. I'm going to drop Green Bay back into the 2 slot and going to go with the incumbent Lions, who were just a hair away from going to the Super Bowl last year.
No, I knew you were going to. I knew you were going to, and I almost did too. I was very close. I thought about it long and hard, and then I kind of reevaluated the second half of the season for both of these teams. Second half of the NFL season, Jordan Love was the best quarterback in the league by far. Just they were young. That was it. They were young, and they're just going to continue to build on what they had last year. They got one of the best receiving core, even though you might not be able to list all of their names, their receiving core is much better than a lot of teams. And I love that. I love that energy for them. And I think they're really going to just build on that. Like they kind of feel obviously like the Packers cannot be a Cinderella team like the Lions did, a year or two ago. It's not possible. They've won enough. The Lions just have been the Lions for over my entire life and then some. So, they're not a Cinderella team necessarily, not that kind of energy, but like these guys there's something special about this team and I can't really figure it out. Maybe it's because I'm not in the fandom. I don't know. But there's something special. But, going over to the Lions, I think they're special too. And me putting the Lions at 2 was not a knock at them. It's just I have a lot of belief right now in this Packers team and Jordan Love. I think these two teams are going to be neck and neck till the end of the season. Like this, you could flip a coin and pick the one for this. And last time we were here on Blood, Sweat, and Sports, we really deep dived these last two teams. If you want to check that out, I can put the link to it in the description as well. I didn't even think to do that. But after this is over, I'll put the link in the description of episode 1, and we talked about rookie quarterbacks. But look, the Bears are 4 until proven otherwise. Like that's just how it is, and you and I kind of agree on that. The speed of they've got the team to that if all goes right for them to take the one, like to go all the way. Like if all goes right, but there's too much talking in this offseason. There's too much, not drama, but like hype that feels like just drama. But it's not drama. They're just being dramatic. And the Vikings have been quiet. Has anybody heard anything other than the Jefferson deal? No, they've been quiet. They've been minding their business, and whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's JJ McCarthy, it don't really matter. They're both, JJ being a rookie, Sam being a veteran journeyman at this point as well. I think they'd equate to the same number of wins this year, no matter which one started. It's a pretty solid team. They were starting to build, even with the loss of Kirk Cousins in the second half of the year. Like things were starting to actually come together a little bit for them. And like you said, they've got no pressure. They're just playing, having fun, doing what they can. They know that this is not their year, and so they're just going to do what they can.
Yeah, I like some of the takes. The thing about this NFC North, and I never thought 2 years ago I would hear myself saying these exact words, but it might be the most exciting division in football this year. Because I think everybody's pretty close and pretty far away at the same time. We might have some blowouts in division. We might have some surprises. But everybody's really building towards that youth movement and having a nice, young, talented roster. And I think they're going to be competitive, and it's going to be amazing. The reason why I like Detroit a little bit more than I do Green Bay is because they lost with a very bad taste in their mouth. I think they're going to be hungry. I think Dan Campbell's going to use that as motivation. I think they're going to come out on fire this year. I just think that they're going to have enough extra. But Green Bay is ultra talented. I could see either team. I could see all four.
I can't wait to watch it, really. Truly, I can't wait to watch it play out.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't pick them as the most exciting division. I personally would probably say the AFC South. For some reason, like I feel like it's going to be a dramatic year for that division, but this is the NFC equivalent, in my opinion. And so I am really excited to see that. So now we got to do it. We got to take on the AFC North.
Yeah, well, talk about
Dude,
even
this is
quarterback play. I think quarterback play is going to be really good in this division this year. I think Pittsburgh taking Russell Wilson for $1 million was a steal. I really believe that everybody's going to be pretty decent, but here we go. In the fourth spot, just because he hasn't proven himself yet in this division, I'm going to take Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. Third spot is going to go to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 2 spot is going to go to Mr. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and
finally you learned your lesson.
my Bengals are going to win the division this year.
You learned your lesson. You finally understand the rules of YouTube and not do what you did last year. I'm so proud of you. Everybody, round of applause for Papa Blood. Golf claps. Golf claps only. Golf claps in the chat, please.
2 words, Mason Rudolph.
Yes, Mason Rudolph. No, I'm going to be real with you. I pondered this list the longest out of all of them except for the AFC East. That one's probably the second longest. And I knew that eventually I was going to have to come to a decision. I was going to have to make a decision, I guess I should say. And I thought about it. All of these teams could be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Every one of them. There's a lot of unknowns. But my list is identical to yours, except, I put the Bengals at 2 and the Ravens at 1. But, so I got the Browns at 4, Steelers at 3, Bengals at 2, and Ravens at 1. And that was no disrespect. Let me be loud and clear to all the Bengals fans out there. This Chiefs fan does not hate you. I just don't like your mouth. I still like your team. But yes, no. The only reason I think the Browns at 4 is the most accurate out of any of them. Putting any of them at 4 is that this money issue is going to start to come into play. We don't know what Nick Chubb's going to look like. They're going to, they had a lot of injuries going into the end of the season. Although they had a historic defense, I don't think they'll repeat that. Plus, Deshaun Watson has to be healthy. He has to prove himself. This division's an absolute nightmare. And also, I took a deep dive into these 4 team schedules, and I think the Browns have the way it's laid out, the hardest schedule with travel and all of that out of the 4 teams. So, that one's just, a no-brainer. That was the one I had the easiest time picking. Do they have the chance to be the number 1 team in the division? If all goes right, yes. Honestly. There's no beating around it. Steelers at 3. Steelers can easily be 1. Steelers can easily be 1, and they can easily be 4. They've got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and both of them are about the same player, just, difference in age. But if something happens to Russ, they didn't spend any money on him, so it's no loss to them. Plus, they've got Justin Fields. The Bengals at 2, my decision was not personal. It was Burrow's coming off that surgery. The Ravens already proved themselves as being an elite team last season, and hosting an AFC championship. Not just making it, but hosting an AFC championship, which is a big deal given the circumstances of the last 5 years. And so, it's just I am timid about the Bengals. That's what it is I believe in them, and I think they can be the most talented team in the division. I'm just timid. They've lost Joe Mixon. There's been a contract issues with Jamar and T. Higgins, which T. Higgins got sorted out, whatever. There's some new pieces in. They did bring Von Bell back, I believe, which is going to help so much. And their secondary will probably be a lot more healthy this season. And then there's Joe's wrist. He says he feels good. Everything feels fine, but, you don't know until the games start to be played. And so the Bengals at 2 was no shade. It was just a little bit of timidness. I do believe it in them.
Yeah, I see your point. I think that finally Cincinnati hopefully has learned to scale up their preseason a little bit. I think the rough starts the last several years, the 0-2, 1-3 starts, has been the biggest detriment to their team. Put the pressure on them early. I think they're going to go in a little bit better. They got a fairly, I don't want to call their opening game soft, but a little softer first couple of games. They've got an opportunity with, they play the Chiefs second or third, but I think they've got a chance to go 2-1, maybe 3-0 if they get lucky. But the reason why I put the Ravens at 2 is because I think Derek Queen going to Pittsburgh was
Who's
the biggest.
who is
Was the
Derek Queen?
maybe it's not Derek Queen. It's
Patrick?
Patrick Queen. Yes,
I was like, who is Derek Queen?
I don't know where I got Derek because somebody was talking
Derek
about Derek
Henry.
Henry.
Derek Henry. Yeah, yeah.
Patrick Queen going to Pittsburgh he was a monster in that Baltimore defense. Their defensive coordinator is now the head coach in Seattle. I think the defense might have a little bit of a lapse there, but Lamar Jackson has lost a little bit of weight this summer. He's gotten faster. They're going to be exciting. I hate the Ravens. Period. I don't like to play them. Lamar is a nightmare, and if anybody beats us, it will be
Hey.
them.
You don't have to play him in week 1.
Yeah, fair. But the other two teams, Cleveland, Deshaun hasn't proven himself that he's worth the money he got paid. Still, so until he does prove himself, they're 4 for me. And I love Mike Tomlin and how he coaches his teams. His defense is going to be stout. They've done really well. I think that was a sneaky good pick in Roman Wilson in like the third or fourth round. I think that was a great pick. I think they're going to be a contender.
I think they're the underdog team to put on watch.
Yeah,
honestly.
It is so hard for me to say good things about Pittsburgh since I'm a Bengals fan. I mean, it really is.
Oh, I'm not gonna. I let you do it because I won't. But I think that's the one of the underground teams to put on watch for this season. Like, I don't trust them to not just come in and be an absolute menace.
They're gonna hurt somebody's feelings this year. I mean, honestly, they will. They will beat somebody that you don't expect them to beat. They might win a bunch of games. They could win 12 games this year. Who knows?
All right. You get to choose next. So, are we going to the South or are we going to the East?
I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go to the East.
Okay, so we'll start with the NFC. And my list, I didn't like making this list. This was probably the one I liked the least making. But the only one I'm confident is Giants at 4. I'm very confident in that. But I put the Commanders at 3, Eagles at 2, and the Boys at 1. And I hated every second of it. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I genuinely hated every second of it.
I'm not with you, but close. I put the Commies at 4. I brought the Giants up to 3. I'm leaving the Eagles at 2 and leaving Dallas in the lead.
The disrespect. The Commanders at 4. I don't care about the rest of your list. Listen, I told you the one team that I believe to go from worst to first was Washington. And I still believe in that. But I was trying to not be super bold in making this list. I wanted to try to stick to, like, what I expect, But what I believe is Washington or Cincinnati, obviously, because it's hard to believe that they finished last. But I think Cincinnati and Washington, they're the AFC NFC worst to first teams. Like, I still believe that, but I'm being calm. What made you put the Giants at 3?
I think it's do or die for Danny Dimes. I think maybe I kind of got the feeling that maybe Saquon wasn't such a commodity. I mean, I don't know. I like Brian Daboll, and with if Danny Dimes stays healthy, I think Daboll is going to get them to 8 wins.
Okay. Well, who's to say the Commanders don't have 9 wins?
We don't know that yet. So
Fair. No, I'm gonna be real with you. I almost dropped the Eagles to 3 and put the Commanders at 2. I almost did for this. I've got a lot of belief. I gotta believe. Yes, Malik Neighbors is gonna be good for the Giants. They're gonna be without Saquon. I love Brian Daboll. I do. I hate the Cowboys. I do. And that was why this list sucks so bad. Anybody but the boys. Do I believe that the Cowboys will end up being the best team in this division? If they do, it's barely. Like, they've got the team to do it, but something is just wrong there. Something is wrong there, and you can point fingers at Jerry Jones. You can point fingers at Dak Prescott. You can point fingers at Mike McCarthy. You can point fingers at whoever you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter who you point fingers at. At the end of the day, something is wrong there because they've got a really great football team.
I think what's wrong in Dallas is the playoffs. I think that I just think that they can't.
Well, we're not talking playoffs, but I think there's something else wrong though because I don't know. So there's weird vibes, and then the Eagles. It's very possible for them to slip to 3. No matter if you believe more in the Giants or the Commanders, it doesn't matter with that take. I'm talking specifically Eagles. They're going to take a hit that they don't realize, but they did get Saquon. And if they can continue the dominant run game, then they can continue being the team that they've been the last couple years. And so I could have easily put them at 1, and I could have easily put them at 3, but I couldn't make a decision. That's why I was comfortable with them at 2. But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
So I will take off some of the pressure. The reason why I think it's easy to put Dallas on the top is because the regular season they kind of coast. They get there. They find a way to get it done. I think Zeke going back to Dallas is really going to help them in the red zone, short yardage. I think CeeDee Lamb's playing for a contract. Micah Parsons is playing for a contract. Their secondary will be intact this year. That defense will be a monster. Although their defensive coordinator is now the head coach in Washington, which makes a little bit of a fear in the hearts of Cowboy fans, I'm sure. But Dallas has the roster to win the division. They have maybe the best quarterback in the division, even though I don't care for him that much.
Oh, now you're spitting fighting words for somebody.
I mean, Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott, flip a coin.
Give me Jaden Daniels.
Unproven.
Yet.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's unproven. So, I mean, I think that's the reason why you put Dallas first. Philadelphia had a colossal collapse last year. Started the season 10-1 and ended up 11-6 or whatever it was, and just fell apart. A lot of stuff going on there. I think Sirianni losing his 2 main coordinators to head coaching jobs, I think that took a bigger toll on that team in the long run than what we know. Yep. Vic Fangio being there this year on the defense.
That's scary a little bit.
We'll shore it up a little bit. Vic is an old school guy, but they say the guys there like him. The guys in Miami did not care for him. That's why he's not there. But Washington is a wild card. They really are. I just hope that they bring Daniels the right way.
They're my wild card.
I know you're a Comanche fan. I got you.
No, I'm not. But I'm gonna root for him anyway. Alex Smith's gone, so I hate that organization. I hate that field. They take all good things away from everybody. But I still root for them, and hopefully one day they'll get a new field. So, yeah, let's move over to the East because I'm talking about the Cowboys makes me I can't say that out loud on YouTube, but it makes me think terrible thoughts and whatever. Go Commanders. Give me your AFC East list.
AFC East. This was actually the hardest one for me to pick, to be completely honest. I sit here and looked at this several times, and and I really don't know why I feel what I feel, but you know what? Here we go. As much as I want to say Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great season for the Jets, and everybody's predicting them back to the playoffs again, I'm going to leave them at 4. I just don't quite buy it. I have a bad feeling about this season. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to leave them at 4. I am going to put Buffalo or New England at the 3 spot.
Sorry. Like, my God.
I'm going to put New England at the 3 spot. I think it's going to be a rejuvenating year. I think that the new culture there is going to take off. It may be a slow start, but I think they're going to get past the Jets. In the 2nd spot, this was the one that I found really tough. I'm going to go ahead and take the Miami Dolphins. I'm not a Tua believer. And regardless of how much I think they're down, I think Josh Allen and the Bills will win the division.
Okay, so you said you had a hard time with this one. I just wanted to show everybody my lists. And we can talk about who had a worst time. So here are here's the North, the East, whatever. Well, here's my AFC East list. Yeah. 4. Patriots are at 4. And I decided that the best way to go about this was to just speak from my gut and not from my brain and pull it out of nowhere. So give me the Patriots at 4. It's all I have to talk about, but I am confident in that. Do I think they'll take a step forward from last year? I think maybe 1 or 2, but not like a significant jump yet. This is a tough division. Whether the Jets offense is good or not, the Jets defense is still one of the best in the league. And so with that, I'm going to put Buffalo at 3. I stand on what I said. I believe they'll take a step back this year. And I think they'll look like Buffalo the year before they got Stephon Diggs. Josh was kind of other than the fact that he was very inconsistent. There was just a lot of messy. They brought Stephon Diggs in, and then all of a sudden, he was better, right? It's significantly better until their fallout. I'm gonna put them at 3. But I'm gonna put the Jets at 2 and the Dolphins at 1.
I can say this division can flip-flop easily just based on what you and I think right now. And this is right now. I may change my mind after training camp.
Oh, yeah, I could 100% change my mind after I dig into some of these teams a little bit more. I'm putting the Jets at 2, though. I know you put them at 4, and that's really bold of you. I'm proud of you for making such a bold statement like that. And this has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, and more so just the rest of the team. But I really still feel like they can win 10 games. And that's enough for the 2 spot there, honestly. And the Dolphins, I'm not the biggest Tua fan. I don't love him, but he's earned my respect a little bit over the last 2 seasons. And yeah, I know he's had you can say, oh, he's got Tyreek and Waddle. You know what? Look, I had that guy before. I know what it's like for people to say that about your quarterback. Oh, you got Tyreek Hill. That's the only reason you're good. I get that, but we saw games without Tyreek Hill, and I've seen him grow the last couple years, and that's all you can ask for a guy coming into the league is to continue to grow, and I think that's what he's done. He's continued to grow, and so I think this is a year for them to take another step. I know their defense might look a little sus, but they'll have, guys back from injury. They were playing well. Their run game was insane. Their running back room is the same as last year. They brought everyone back. And they're still an explosive, exciting team, and they stand out to me. They're the one team that stands out to me in this division.
Yeah, my biggest problem with the Jets is basically Aaron Rodgers went down in 4 snaps into the season last year. He's a 40-year-old quarterback that only played 4 snaps last year, had a serious injury that he's never had in his life, and then comes all the way back, skips training camp. He's planning on skipping camp, and he's going to come into here thinking, but when you're 40 years old and you take that much time off, I just don't think he's going to be Aaron Rodgers that we know, and that's my problem with that team is because are they going to bench him if he doesn't perform the first 6 games? There's no way. If he's healthy, he's playing. So no matter what happens, if he plays bad, they're sticking with him, and I don't know that he's going to play great. I'm gonna keep my optimism low for him, and then maybe he'll surprise me and have a good season. Every time I pick him, he screws me, so I'm not picking him this year.
I mean, I'm not picking him to win the division. I'm picking him to, I think him being average is enough to win a bunch of games with that team. Like, he doesn't have to be MVP Rodgers. He just has to be average. Like, he just got to not throw 30 interceptions and they can win 10 games. Like, I understand any sort of concern. And everyone said, oh, he's missing training camp. And the age that you threw that part added to it makes a lot more sense. But, the last year he won MVP, he didn't go to training camp either in Green Bay.
Yeah, and he wasn't happy in Green Bay, and he won MVP.
That's what I'm saying. Look, I don't like the guy. In his prime, I respected his talent, but I've never liked the guy. But I'm going to give him the credit that as long as he's average, they can potentially be a wild card team. They can't win the division, but they can potentially be a wild card team.
I see how many teams right now, just a quick count in your head in this AFC can get to 9 wins. Just a quick guess.
Well, I could see someone in the AFC North winning the division with 9 wins because of how they are with each other. So
yeah, so
I don't know.
I'm saying that there's only maybe 1 or 2 teams in this AFC this year that I don't see it possible getting to 8 or 9 wins. Everybody else seems to have put together a roster that can win 9 games. And that's pretty cool.
Look, I'm glad we can. I mean, we didn't even agree, but we both semi-agreed that the Patriots are going to be on the down low this year, with a lot of question marks. But I do want to go back to the Bills because it never ends well if we spend too much time talking about Aaron Rodgers in here. I think the Bills can win 15 games, but also I could see the Bills winning 7.
Fair.
In this AFC, within their division, where all the defenses are pretty stout in the AFC East, that's 6 games. You have 2-3 turnovers a game, which Josh Allen is really good at that, even with Stephon Diggs. You're not going to make it out. Look, will they beat the Dolphins twice? Probably. That's just what they do. But, I could see them losing one to the Patriots, 1 to the Jets. And, that could be the difference in making the playoffs, losing 2 division games. I don't know. It sounds crazy. But, I just feel like, they talk about pitching in baseball being more so a mental game. You have a bad mental day as a pitcher and you're going to give up 5 home runs in a row, and that's how Josh Allen is. He rides on mentality and emotion, and if things don't start off hot for them, they might not get hot this season. And so that's why I'm a little more comfortable dropping him to the bottom half of the list because either way they take a step back. Either way, I don't think they win the division. Whether that means they finish 2 or 3, whatever. Obviously, injuries in the season will move teams around, and we can't control that. But something worries me. Bills Mafia, I love you guys, and I like your team. I like Josh Allen. But I don't know. If they don't start off hot, they're in trouble. That's all. That's how I feel. Like, they have to start off putting up 40 points in week 1 or they're in trouble. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I the more I thought about this, the less I felt I knew about this division. That's why I just turned it upside down.
I'm good with that. I'm good with yours, and I'm good with mine. Let's hop over to the South. We've got the NFC South, and my list goes as followed. Adam, don't be mad. We got the Panthers at 4, Saints at 3, Falcons at 2, and Bucks at 1. Let's hear your list.
Wow. I think the Panthers are 4. I think they're better. I think they need one more year to kind of put it together to make some kind of a competitive run next year. I hope they're better. 3, I'm going with the Saints. Derek Carr is just useless in my opinion. And at number 2, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. And number 1, Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I knew you were going to take the Falcons, and that's kind of what led me to push towards the Bucks a little bit, just to differ. But I agree and disagree with both options at 1.
Yeah.
The Saints at 3. Like, look, Panthers fans, Adam, the few of you that are still alive, I don't think it's over. I don't think this is the end for the Carolina Panthers. I don't even think it's the end for Bryce Young. You know, I think this is an exciting year for them. I also feel like a couple wrong moves from the Saints and the Panthers could move up to 3. But what I like about the Saints is their defense, and it allows them to stay in games. And that's the only reason I gave them the edge. Do I think the Panthers? I think the Panthers win more games than they did last year, 100%.
I've got some good things to say about the Panthers too. So,
I mean, I've got good things to say about all 4 of these teams. Honestly, good things to say that I wasn't saying at the end of last season. I should say.
Yeah, the best thing about the Panthers is Dave Canales. I think he's the right guy to develop that quarterback. I just don't think the rest of the roster is quite ready for that big leap. You know what? As long as Bryce Young is not sitting on his butt the whole season and he survives without getting injured, this feels like more of a rebuild year still. My favorite saying in the offseason is Mickey Loomis, the GM of the Chiefs, complaining on NFL radio that he has to call a grown man Kool-Aid. From when he drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry, the Saints are going to be stout on defense. But really, right now, Baker Mayfield has done a good job in Tampa Bay. And everybody's got hopefully he's righted the ship and his career will even out. I haven't heard foul things from his mouth at all. And I'm super impressed and I'm happy that he grew up. I think Kirk Cousins, this is his last hurrah, maybe 2 years here in Atlanta, and I think they've got the right weapons for him to really put on a season. I think that offense might be a little bit better than everybody else in the division, and that is why I picked Atlanta.
No, yeah, I leaned back and forth with Atlanta and Tampa. Honestly, I feel like they're pretty neck and neck. I do feel like going into the season, pending preseason and practice or training camp injuries, because there's always a couple big names that unfortunately we lose randomly. Usually Ravens running backs, but shout out to Derrick Henry. Stay healthy, bro. But so we obviously don't know that who's going into the season completely healthy, but I feel like in terms of health, everyone being healthy, the Falcons have the better roster as a whole than Tampa. But it's a new system for Kirk. He's coming off the same major injury that Aaron Rodgers is coming off. Although he is a little bit younger, he's still up there in age. And so I feel like it might be a slow start for them. Could they start slow and still end up winning that division? Yes. But if Tampa Bay starts off as hot as they ended the season and Atlanta starts off slow, they might not be able to catch up.
Fair.
So that's the only reason I gave Tampa the edge, is because although I know Kirk Cousins can go out there and perform and do his job the way he's supposed to, it's the injury timidness, just like I was with Cincinnati. Do I think they could be the one? Absolutely, but I'm just a little timid until I go out there and see Kirk Cousins play a full 4 quarters perfectly, without any kind of it's taking anything away from his game. And he's not playing scared, because that's a possibility. Because of his age, he could play scared. Look what happened to Derek Carr after injury. He was really good before his injury, and then it seems like he's played scared the rest of his career. And that's what's held him back.
Yeah, it held him back. Derek Carr is full of potential. He just never seems to get over the hump.
He plays scared now.
The other thing, and everybody likes, you have to have reasons for. I think ownership in Carolina is a big part of the problem. They've got a coach with an itch, or an owner with an itchy trigger finger, and I think that makes your players and coaching staff play and coach differently. And if he would just take a step back and let his team be a team, and hopefully he's done that this year, they might improve.
Yeah, I'm very confident in Atlanta, but right now, since we're doing way too early season rankings, I have to give the edge to Tampa, and I feel confident about it.
Well, you know what? I think we left the most wide open division.
This is my favorite division in football right now. No, I didn't put Atlanta at 1. I put Atlanta at 2. But this is my favorite division in football right now, the AFC South. I'm going to let you go first, but I'm very excited about this.
Well, this hurt my feelings a little bit, so I'm just going to say that I had to do something to start this that hurt my feelings. In 4th place for the division, I'm going to put the Tennessee Titans. As much as I love what they've done for right now, and I'll tell you why later. Number 3 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Although Trevor's better, got the money, I still think they're down there. Number 2, Anthony Richardson and the Colts. And number 1 for the repeat, CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans,
That's the Stroud boys.
Who could be the best team in the AFC this year if things go their way just a little.
My list is similar, but not the same. At number 4, I went ahead and pulled the trigger, and I put the Jags at 4. And just slightly above them, I put the Titans at 3, and then following you, I've got the Colts, Anthony Richardson coming back at 2, and the Texans, the Stroud boys, at 1.
I think that's a pretty.
That's my most bold move out of this all 8 divisions.
I think the Indianapolis and the Texans are going to be a great battle this year.
Dude, well, they always are, honestly. That division games are either blowouts or the best games ever. But yeah, going ahead, we both agree the Texans at 1. They have the a potential to be, like you said, hosting an AFC championship. Like, they've got that potential if things pan out. I am very timid with the addition of Joe Mixon and the addition of Stephon Diggs, because there's a little bit of ego coming into the room. But I feel like the reason I remain confident with them and with those additions and keeping them at 1, which they could be 1 without those guys. They proved it last year. But that was one reason. The other reason is I think both of these guys, Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs, were kind of getting to a point that being on the team they were on was almost demoralizing. It was for Diggs. I'm not going to say so much for Joe, but I feel like Joe felt like they were pushing him out either way. And Diggs wanted out. And so I feel like that leaves room for optimism that these guys are going to come out and be the guys that they know that they can be. And they can step up. Because they're getting a fresh start, which, they've been in the league a while, and starting over is hard. And so I think they're optimistic about it. I think the Texans are optimistic about it. I think they got a great coaching staff. I think they've got one of the best minds. I'm not calling him smart, but the best mind for the love of football in a quarterback in CJ Stroud. I don't think anyone loves the game quite as much as he does. And I think Joe Burrow's the closest in terms of mentality going into the game. But so there's something about CJ Stroud that he takes his off season, his off the field stuff very, very seriously as well. But like when he's in football, it's football, and I respect that. So it's easy putting the Texans at once and the Colts at two. Obviously, we want to see Anthony Richardson healthy, but the first 4 games of the year, he was exciting. He was electric. He was bringing life back into the fan base. Like, I watched the fan base just wake from the dead. They were so happy. And then they had Minshew finish the season, and they didn't have a bad year, although losing their starting quarterback in week 4. But they've got Joe Flacco, who just had the best year of his career last season with Cleveland, backing him up in the case that something does happen. So that's another reason to stay optimistic, not just to feel, but to continue to stay optimistic if something were to happen. And, I think this Colts team drafted well also. And I think they're moving where they need to be moving finally. I feel like they've been on a skid since Andrew Luck retired, but they're finally moving the way they need to be.
The best thing is that based on his college play and everything, we really don't know what the ceiling is for Anthony Richardson. We don't have enough. We've only seen the glimpses, right? He's only played in small spurts, but he shows that he can be, more electric than Lamar. But the guy doesn't have enough playing time in there. As he develops, and if he can survive and stay healthy with his play style, he could be, great. He really could be great. But the thing of it is that we just don't know. And that's the scary part, is that as good as he shows and looks, he's got to stay on the field, and we've got to get a bigger sample size of his playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I still got a lot of faith, though, for some reason. And then the Titans at 3. I should have put them at 4, and you did put them at 4. That's the right call to do, but I've been thinking about it, thinking hard about it. And, the more people they keep bringing into this team, the more, I'm starting to kind of believe.
I'm not sold on Will Levis.
I'm not sold on Will Levis either, but I'm starting to believe. They brought new coaches in. They're bringing all these players in. That I feel like they're gonna be the Cinderella team this year.
I think they have the opportunity to. For sure.
They like the storylines are there. They lost Derrick Henry. They got new coaches. It's all there. They're at the bottom. Everyone's wrote them off already.
Yeah, Tony Pollard got his money in Tennessee, but he's a different style of running back. You just got to remember that this Tennessee offense, go back and look at the Bengals from 2 years ago. It's going to be exactly the same. They don't need a big bruising back. They need somebody to take 6 to 10 carries a game plus catch 5 or 6 balls like Pollard. Pollard over Henry makes plenty of sense in this offense. Callahan brought his dad in as the offensive line coach, who was doing a masterful job in Cleveland, by the way. He's got a lot of things that are really pushing them in a positive light. Fundamentally, they may look like one of the better teams in the division, but we still don't know that Will Levis can carry an NFL team for a season. That's the question. That's the reason why they're still at 4. If he can't perform in that offense, they can't win games. That's just the way that it is. That's the way Brian Callahan's offense is. So, Levis is the question mark. The rest of the team is developing well.
No, yeah, I think so too. And I'm not going to write Levis off because he had some good games last year. And, for a guy just coming into the league, who came into the league demoralized, he got embarrassed on draft weekend,
Right.
He got completely embarrassed, but he still went out and he had some highlight plays. He got the crowd cheering for him. I don't believe that they're the best, but I believe that they're gonna make a little something out of whatever it is that they've got going on over there. Also, they've been quiet. They've been really quiet. And I don't know, I just feel like they're cooking. And then Jacksonville, I'm sorry to Jags fans for putting them at 4. But every season, like they had Doug Peterson and then they made the playoffs. And ever since, like probably after that year, I've just slowly started losing interest and faith in them. And I think they're regressing as my faith is regressing. And do I think they have the ability to be the best team in that division? Yeah, I still do. They've got the coach. They've got the quarterback. They've got all the pieces they need. They just got to do it. I just don't know what's wrong with them.
And the thing of it is that, Trevor Lawrence coming out of college, had a similar expectation to Joe Burrow. That kind of a record. He was that kind of big quarterback. And he just hasn't quite gotten over the hump in the NFL yet. Not saying that he struggled. I'm just saying that he hasn't quite gotten over the hump. I feel like him and Justin Herbert are in a battle to see, they're right there neck and neck of on the verge of being great, but just not quite there yet. I really don't understand why I thought Lawrence's progression would be faster.
Because he's the ideal quarterback. Like size, stature, he's everything you want in a quarterback. He's got the mobility if needed. He's got the arm strength if needed. He's got the football IQ if needed. But things just aren't working.
It's kind of a shame, kind of a waste of
talent. It is a shame. And I don't blame it on Jacksonville. They did the right thing when going out and getting Doug Peterson after they extremely failed the year before. They've done the right things for him. I don't think it would be okay, this comment right here. I don't really believe in it, but might put some money on Trevor Lawrence MVP odds. Maybe it finally clicks. And that's a bold take right there. It could happen because it should happen. I believe it. I believe he has the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Not the best just because of the last, 4 years we've seen of him, but one of the best, yes. And I don't think if he would have ended up on another roster, if he would have ended up, in New England or in San Francisco or in the Jets, I don't think it would be any differently. I don't think his career would have went any differently. I think this is a him thing, but also he's still doing things right. So it's not a him thing. I just don't understand. This is the biggest mystery in the NFL is what is going on in Jacksonville right now. I said this last year, about this time last year, that I was a little nervous about them. And then midway through the season, I said, what's going on in Jacksonville? And here we are, July 2nd, 2024. And I'm still wondering the same thing. Maybe they do figure it out this year. I hope so. I really hope so, but I just don't believe in them. I've lost faith.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take an improvement on the other side of the ball as well. You can only do so much on offense when your defense struggles too. So that's undue pressure. If your defense can't get stops and you have to put up 7 every single time, there's no aspect of ball control and you're throwing it 35, 45, 55 times a game. So, you got to have complementary football to win in this.
No, I'm with you 100 million percent. I couldn't agree more. But there were some offensive issues that they went out last year, got him Calvin Ridley, and they had ETN. They had a bunch of guys that can produce, and they lost their division to a rookie. It was their division to lose.
Yeah. Once Anthony Richardson went down with the shoulder,
it was 1,000% their division to lose. And it took the whole season to lose it, but they still lost it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just one of those things that doesn't make any sense.
And it makes no sense because we're going into year 2 of CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and it's no longer the Jags' division to lose. It's the Jags have to find their way back.
Yeah. How quickly
and all the last couple of years that they've won their division, they've barely won their division in a very weak. Like before this past year with Stroud and Richardson and then Minshew filling in, the division was completely weak. And they were still barely getting there. That's the problem I'm having. Is they were barely getting there to the point now they've lost it. And now it's like, okay, well, they're either average or below average, and they have to find their way back up to be considered a good football team again. And that's all I have to say is they really like for excuse me, but they really need to get their shit together.
This is why I love football. Because right now
they're the most confusing team you've ever seen. Like,
I mean,
it makes no sense.
The predictability about that's why it's fun to predict, right? Because if you come in here and have some really good takes early on, you may be 100% correct on everything that you pick, or you could just bottom out and look like you have no clue about the game. But
the last 2 NFL seasons have made me feel like I don't know anything about football.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those seasons because...
And I think we're going into year 3 of me starting to believe I'm just delusional.
You know what? Here we go. Are you going to put in the preseason bet for the 3-peat?
I already did that.
Oh, yeah?
No, so I put in a parlay before the Mavs signed Klay Thompson. Because the odds went down after that. But Mavs and Chiefs, next year's champions.
Well, the talking point all season can be that this is something that no team in the NFL.
Okay, you want to know what my preseason Super Bowl prediction is while we're just talking about it? The bet that I actually put in this year.
Heck yeah, I want to know.
Packers and Chiefs. That's my 2 representatives.
Packers and Chiefs. Well, I mean, this has got to be one of those seasons that nobody's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. If they win this year, you can put a lot of the Tom Brady talk to rest.
Oh, I won't entertain nothing after that ever again. I won't have to. But anyway, my statement of the year is if the Chiefs 3-peat, I'm getting the arrowhead tattooed. As a commemoration that Tom Brady couldn't do it 3 times in a row. I might even say, suck it, Tom, underneath. We'll see how frisky I am. But, yeah, Chiefs 3-peat, I'm getting the logo tattooed. It's going to be a done deal. That's my... Dude is jacked. But, yeah. That's I hope more than anything. I'll never ask for anything ever again if the Chiefs can 3-peat.
Yeah, they just got to get through the offseason. The offseason seems to be the biggest detriment in Kansas City.
They make me want to drink every day when I wake up and I see that something else on the news. As a Bills fan, please no. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your Bills. I was actually in Buffalo, New York, 2 days ago. It's actually a nice place.
When traveling through there a couple years ago, when I traveled through there, that is the one place that absolutely idolizes their sports team. Everywhere I seen it was Bills country. I seen signs, logos, people decorating their cars. You guys are awesome as far as taking care of your team. That was awesome. I loved it.
I said it earlier when we were talking about the AFC East. Like, Bills Mafia, I love you. Like, I love you as a fan base. I like your football team, and I love your quarterback. I've got no Look, well, I talk smack to a Bills fan who starts it. Yeah, I'm gonna, but it's because I know I can win. But I'm not gonna go out and start fights. The only fight I wanted to start this weekend was when I made it to Massachusetts to run my mouth to some Boston fans. But all at the same time, I got nothing to say. Boston just won a championship. And so, but I was going to. I just didn't. But I did go through. I went through Pittsburgh on the way home. I went to Buffalo on the way up. And, there's some beautiful cities. There's some beautiful cities out there. Will I ever go back to the East Coast again? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was a terrible experience. But the drives were nice, which I thought the drive was going to be the worst part of both ways. But no, the trip was bad, but the drives were awesome. I got to watch the sunrise in freaking Buffalo, New York. Like, how crazy is that?
Pretty cool. All right, are we going
Chat?
any further? Or are we done?
Chat? You got any questions or comments in the next few minutes? And we will sit and talk about it for just a few, if you'd like. If not, we're gonna hop off here for the week. But yeah, we're gonna open the floor to anything. Rice is gonna get suspended too. Yeah, I mean, I'm anticipating that, but So why are the Chiefs three-peating, and why can't nobody stop them? Because Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. Easy question.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, is that they've won their championships in different ways. It's not because they were the best team on the field. That's the thing. They found a way to win, so you got to take some of that back to leadership on the field and coaching. Is probably the two main reasons that they have 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Fundamental, do you want my number one sleeper pick that I think as of right now that I've heard nobody on TV talking about? It is a running back, and he was drafted in the 3rd round by the Green Bay Packers. Marshawn Lloyd. That is my sleeper of the year. The sleeper pick of the year is, I think, with Aaron Jones out of there, we saw Quadzilla, what's his name, A.J. Dillon. We saw him struggle without Aaron Jones last year. But this guy, go look at a picture of him. Go look at his training camp pictures with the Packers. This guy's going to be special. That's my sleeper pick of the year out of the rookies. Oh yeah, I forgot about Josh Jacobs too. But Josh Jacobs is hit or miss also. We don't know what he's going to look like, but I play Dynasty Fantasy, so I have to think future also when I take draft picks. I did not get Marshawn Lloyd. Somehow somebody took him from me. And I didn't think anybody in the first round. In the first round, they took him from me. And I was like, I was pissed. I'm not going to lie. He was going to be my 2nd round pick, but I got Jaden Daniels 2nd round.
Whoa, Adam, that's bold.
This is a very bold statement when Isaiah Worthy's right there. With Rashee Rice getting suspended, Isaiah Worthy's right there.
Marvin Harrison Jr. will probably lead all receivers.
I got Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team.
Yeah, I mean,
well, we you know what? We can talk about actually doing a fantasy stream once we get a little closer to the season. We've never actually, the two of us, discussed it, but we can potentially add a fantasy aspect to the channel, because that's not something we've ever really gotten into.
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. We've had some practice in this Dynasty League. It would be really nice to have a Dynasty League here.
No, that's too much, because there's too many people that would want to. That's not what I'm saying. He's saying a stream to where we talk about fantasy football.
Oh.
Yeah, this is what he said right here.
Yeah.
We long ago, in the early stages of It's in the Blood, have done 1 year fantasy seasons, and maybe we will discuss something in the next few weeks about potentially bringing that back. And finding a way to make it fair to everybody who wants to. But it's going to be something that we're going to have to sit and talk about a little bit and try to work out the details behind the scenes before we approach you guys with it, so we know we do it right. Because if we do it, I want to go about it right. Because back then we had 150 subscribers and we could only get like 6 people to do it with us. So it was a lot easier than we have a lot more football fans in here, and I would want it to be fair if we did something like that. Oh man, I love Underdog. All of Underdog. Don't give me like, we need to get away from sports bet talk right now. I'm addicted. But what we will come back to that. We'll circle back to it as the season gets closer. But don't forget the name, Marshawn Lloyd. He's gonna make his way into the league. I promise. That's what I'm saying. Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams, what I feel about Marshawn Lloyd.
Oh, and by the way, Alex, it is your pick again already.
Okay, well, that now is not the time and place.
I forgot that I saw that just a few minutes before we started today. But that way I don't forget. Kyron Williams is a dog, too.
Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd's going to be a dog. I'm telling you. Everybody's talking about that Brooks kid that went to Carolina or whatever from Texas, and then that other kid, and obviously Ray Davis. But there we go. Fundamental gets it. That's my rookie I'm rooting for, my rookie running back. I didn't get him. I drafted some rookie from, I don't even know what team he was on. Maybe Philly, the running back. They drafted more than one. I don't know. I can't remember who I drafted, but we'll get it. We'll discuss more details. Oh yeah, you're right about that. He's going to get the most attention immediately starting out, but we'll see. All right.
You drafted Isaiah Davis.
Yeah, where did he get drafted to?
Jets.
The Jets. Oh, that's a great. Yeah, I know why I did that. Because they're like the freaking Ravens in terms of everyone getting hurt. So he'll get snaps this year. Maybe not a lot.
You know, fundamental, that's a really good point, is that everybody loves Josh Jacobs, but the Raiders did not try very hard to re-sign him, and that really worries me that they didn't make an effort, really.
Well, Nash, the Bills drafted Ray Davis. Man, that Bills defense, I'm so nervous about it, man. All they kept was Von Miller.
And he's basically on a snap count as he ages. So they're going to cut him back even further on how many plays he can play.
Yeah, I was going to draft Braylon Allen, but he had already got picked in our dynasty draft. That was who I was going to draft first. But then we're in like the 5th and 6th round, and so I was running out of guys. I'm going to go look through the undrafted lists.
Yeah, we got one more pick, so.
But we'll talk about it. I think this is how we're going to conclude today. We appreciate you all. Anybody still hanging with us here at the end? We always appreciate you. Anybody on the podcast side still listening, we appreciate you too. Thanks for joining. Blood, Sweat, and Sports. You have anything left to say?
Let's go. Ready for next week.
Okay. I appreciate you guys. We will see you guys hopefully next Tuesday for another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Sports. We might be starting something else soon. Maybe we'll do a Q&A here soon so we can talk about some other stuff outside of football, just whatever. I think it's getting into that time of the year where you're going to see our faces or hear our voices, however you listen, a lot more than you're used to the last couple of months. So be on the lookout. Like I said, all of our socials, our Discord, everything is in the description. And links to our other channels, if you feel like checking those out, are also in the description. We appreciate you all. I'm Alex. That's Papa Blood. And we will see you guys on the next one. Burrow sucks.